Welcome back. You're watching KTN Prime. Many thanks for staying with us. Now it is Kenyans are counting days to the launch of the standard gauge railway. And of course, that inaugural ride by the president and part of his cabinet will be on Wednesday, the 31st of May from Mombasa to Nairobi. And I want us to talk about that. And joining me in studio is the CS in charge of transport, that is Professor James Macharia, to just shed more light on that big flagship project for the Jubilee administration. Thank you, Bona CS, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Right, so it's just days.
But initially, a correction, I'm not a professor.
All right.
Maybe I look like one, but I'm not.
All right, thanks for that. Thanks for that, James Macharia.
Yeah.
All right, it's just days to the launch of this SGR project, that inaugural ride on Wednesday, but Kenyans don't know how much it's going to cost them from Mombasa to Nairobi, for instance. How much is the fare?
Thanks, Ben, for inviting me this evening to KTN. I think the first thing to note is, as a CS of transport, is that this will be a major transformational project. And Kenyans should know that it's not just a project which the government is implementing, but it's a project which will change lives of Kenyans. So in terms of determining how much it's going to cost, we really had to think about Mwananchi. And the critical thing is that initially we targeted for the cost to be half of what you pay for the buses, and to travel at half the time. Right. So currently we are targeting about 900 shillings for the train.
That is the economy or the
That's economy class. Right. But economy class, if you check the kind of facilities they are giving, it's almost like business class. And so with that kind of high standards and paying 900 bob against what you pay in a bus, the bus cost is between 1,500 and 2,000. So it's a 50% sort of tariff.
All right.
And you'll be traveling at half the time. So double benefit, really.
What about the business class, the first class?
Business class, which we're calling first class, is basically about 3,000 shillings. That's what we'll be targeting. And as you can see, if you fly, for example, you'll be paying many times more than 3,000. Right. So we believe that business people traveling express train from Nairobi to Mombasa, they'll see a big benefit in that. So
talking about impact, how much impact are we going to see in terms of, first, commuters, and second, the cargo?
Well, first, the time taken between Nairobi and Mombasa, it will be, by express, it will be about 4 hours, 30 minutes, against what you take today if you went with a bus, possibly 8-9 hours, so halved. Cargo, we've been taking about almost 2 days from Mombasa to Nairobi. Now, using the train, it will be taking less than 8 hours. So business people, you'll see a major benefit. Even the cost of the containers, moving the containers from Mombasa to Nairobi, we are targeting a cost of about 50,000 per container.
All right.
Today's cost by these trucks is about 85,000. And so the cost of doing business in this country will go down dramatically. The ease of doing business will go down dramatically, in addition to the jobs created. Because currently it has employed about 30 to 40,000, young men and women. When we start operations, there will be Kenyans who will be actually even driving the train.
Right.
You've seen we have employed some girls who have been trained in China.
All right.
So the impact is huge.
Is it possible to quantify the cost of transportation that will be now using the train as compared to what is now, what businessmen are using when transporting their cargo by road?
Yes, like I said, the best measure is to check how much you pay for a container from Mombasa to Nairobi. If you use the trucks, it's about 80 to 90,000.
All right.
If you use the SGR, the target is to pay about 50,000. So we have discussed all this in terms of our ministerial committees.
All right.
And that's what we like to. And with that kind of cost, it will still be quite profitable.
Many people have been saying that it will take the trailers off our roads. Is it going to take the trailers off the highways?
I think the good thing to note is that we are doing this project when we are also opening up the entire country. For example, this SGR is on what we call Northern Corridor, coming from Mombasa, Nairobi, Naivasha, Kisumu, Malaba,
right,
and then going into Uganda. The same time, we are actually opening up what we call upset corridor, starting from Lamu Port, going to Isiolo, branching off to the north, Moyale, Ethiopia, and the other one going to southern Sudan. So by opening up that route, and already the road system is being done, most of these trucks can now go to these other corridors which we have. They can also be deployed to answer what we call the last mile.
All right.
Because the train or the rail, you not reach the economic aid spots of our country.
All right.
And so these trucks will actually be used for those purposes.
Let's talk about the second phase of this SGR project from Naivasha to Kisumu. It's set to cost 327 billion shillings. Is that correct?
Actually, before we go there, I think let's talk about phase 2A, which is actually from Nairobi to Naivasha,
right,
which was launched last year. That will cost $1.5 billion, which is about 150 billion shillings.
All right.
That has started. And the cost is because we are going through the tunnel, going to the Rift Valley. So the terrain is not very friendly, but we still have to go to the Rift Valley. Last week, when the president was in China, we got very good response in terms of what we call phase 2B,
all right,
which is what you just mentioned.
Yes.
From Naivasha, going to Narok, going to Bomet, Nyamira, and all the way to Kisumu. That will cost roughly about $3.5 billion.
How much is that in Kenyan shillings?
About 350 billion shillings.
Many Kenyans are wondering, it's going to cost almost as much as Nairobi to Mombasa. Yes, it's a shorter distance.
Yes, because of terrain. If you look, for example, from Nairobi to Mombasa, there's no tunnel. But if you go to Rift Valley, you must get into a tunnel to get into the Rift Valley, and you must get into a tunnel to get out.
All right.
And so the terrain actually costs a lot more. But overall, the cost of this SGR is very competitive. Like Nairobi to Mombasa, for example.
All right.
The cost is about $3.9 million per kilometer, which is very low compared to the other.
All right. So if I do simple mathematics, Bwana CS, the whole project will cost slightly more than 700 billion Kenyan shillings. That is almost a third of the Kenya national budget. Many financial analysts say this is too much borrowing from the government.
No, it is not, because this money is going to investment. I think you heard us say before that this money is going to investment. The GDP growth as a result of this project,
right,
Nairobi to Mombasa, is estimated to be about 1.5%. If you take our current GDP, which is about $70 billion, and you take 1.5%, simple mathematics, it will give you an extra $1.4 billion every year. Meaning, from Nairobi to Mombasa, you can pay back the loans which have been borrowed in about 3.5 years. That's a very quick payback. And so it's not a luxury project. It's an investment which is going to generate revenues for this country, and therefore the borrowing will be covered.
We're taken care of, you say.
Yes, yes.
Final question, Bwana CS. Let's talk about Naivasha. What is the truth about the facilities around Naivasha, especially the much talk about dry port of Naivasha?
Well, I think there have been a lot of unnecessary propaganda. Some people are here saying that we are going to shift the port from Mombasa to Naivasha. That's not true. All we are trying to do in Naivasha is to do a special economic zone. Special economic zone. And that's why we fast-tracked that section of Naivasha to Nairobi.
2A.
2A.
All right.
And the reason is we have a lot of power, like through the geothermal or carrier power in that region, which then can be used to develop industries in that special economic zone. And then it makes the railway even more viable.
So that special economic zone will not have any impact at all on the port of Mombasa?
Certainly not. In fact, the port of Mombasa will benefit because the goods produced in that SEZ. Then you'll be transported by SGR to Mombasa. Mombasa port becomes a lot more busier than it is now.
All right. Thank you. All the best with with the SGR launch. But finally, just very quickly, I know the Kenya Airways, they did announce their results today, 10 billion losses. I know the government has 29% shareholding. It's not entirely your mandate. But what is your take on this, the bailout, first of all? Did it happen, the bailout from government to KQ? And how long should Kenyans wait for KQ to get off the red?
Well, first, as a shareholder, Government of Kenya, we are very happy with the progress made by Kenya Airways. It shows the restructuring which has been going on has borne fruit. Because, 1 year ago or 2 years ago, they were reporting 25 billion shillings in loss. That has come down to 10 billion. But also, most important is the operating line, right, which, as you heard, now already they're breaking even. They are making operating profit. And so we are happy with the progress which is being made. The bailout will be subject to a number of issues, which we cannot discuss now, but the process is underway.
But it hasn't happened, the bailout?
Not yet, but the airline is still actually flying high.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Bwana CS. CS in charge of transport, James Macharia, not professor. Thank you so much, Bwana CS, for that. Talking about the SGR, remember the president will be taking the inaugural ride from Mombasa to Nairobi on Wednesday, accompanied by half of the cabinet. That is during the launch of that SGR project.